The fluorescent lights of the congressional hearing room glared down like interrogators' spotlights, cold and unyielding. Laura Ingram's voice cut through the hum of whispered debates and shuffling papers, sharp and insistent. "We need proof," she demanded, her eyes scanning the rows of officials and aides. "We can't take claims on faith. Where is the evidence?" The room grew still, a hush falling over journalists, staffers, and politicians alike. All eyes turned toward the figure at the center of the room, Kennedy. Kennedy, known for his calm demeanor and a patience that often tested the limits of even the most composed lawmakers, rose slowly. His movements were deliberate, almost ceremonial. In his hand, he held a thin document, its edges slightly worn, a symbol that this was not just paper, it was history. "Clause 14b, he said, his voice steady but carrying the weight of generations. "This is the proof you demand." A murmur swept the room. Some leaned forward, curiosity piqued. Others scowled, unwilling to accept that decades of assumptions might hinge on a single piece of legislation. Kennedy's eyes scanned the room, not resting on anyone for too long, but his gaze seemed to anchor the truth in the air. "Look at it carefully," he added. "Read it, and understand why what you've been told may not tell the whole story." Laura's lips pressed into a thin line. "We can't just believe you," she said, a tremor of frustration creeping in. She wasn't just speaking for herself, she carried the collective skepticism of a media machine that thrived on certainty, on confrontation, on drama. Her fingers tapped against the podium, a staccato echo of impatience. "The public deserves answers." Kennedy took a measured breath. The room seemed to tighten around him. Every journalist's camera shutter clicked, capturing the tension like a heartbeat suspended midair. "Proof," he said quietly, almost to himself, "is not always what you expect. Sometimes it comes in forms you haven't imagined." Slowly, he held the document higher, the small typeface of Clause 14b visible to those nearest. The language was precise, unyielding, yet profoundly human in its implications. It was then that the story of Kennedy's struggle began to unfold, not just the political maneuvering, but the personal cost. Few knew that he had spent months poring over archives, historical records, and forgotten testimonies. Late nights in dimly lit offices, early mornings in dusty halls of government, each discovery layering onto his understanding, testing his conviction. His wife, Marianne, had watched him wrestle with sleepless nights, reminding him gently to rest, to eat, to remember that life continued beyond the walls of power. But Kennedy had known that some truths, once uncovered, could not be ignored. The room buzzed with whispers as reporters approached, desperate for a closer look. Some sought to undermine him, others to praise the diligence, but Kennedy remained unmoved. This, he